Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about. Threw my virtues to the ground, drinking from the devil's cup. Take that pill, drink it down, flashing lights all around. High as hell, drunk like I finally don't give a fuck. 'Cause I'm breaking all the rules tonight. Not going down without a fight. As long as I'm still breathing, doesn't matter how hard you might try. We can take this freedom. Waking up, I'm a mess. Sleep.
All right, okay. I nearly didn't make it back to the office in time. I was on like this team, planning session type thing all day, and I said I have to leave early because last time I tried to do the live stream after this thing, so I left it around 4 o'clock and I raced back and I answered a phone call and I didn't think I was gonna make it back, so whew, I'm all tired and everything. So this is the Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. This is the weekly live stream where we answer questions, we have a quick chat, we don't really prepare anything, we just talk about, you know, apps and stuff. So, okay, so, sorry if I'm a little bit out of breath. This has been a really good, thanks, hey everybody, I'm glad you guys made it. So, this has been a really good week. Well, it started out like a really good week, and then there were some problems in the week, which you'll find out in the upcoming videos. But then it was fine, and you know, so it's everything's going really well. We did the videos this week. We did one on RPMs and bid types and everything like that in response to some questions. So that was one I think a lot of people really like. Sometimes those things, the basics, you kind of just assume everybody knows it, and it's good to go over them again because there's certain things that we just learn as we go, and if we don't share that information, then other people, we all working off different information, so that was pretty good. And also just, you know, keeping the videos going and everything like that. So all of that's going really well. Azimuth is the first one here. Hey, how's it going? Rodrigo second, and Crypt is third. You know what? If you guys are all gonna number yourselves coming in, that would be really great. iOS development, hello from Chiang Mai. That still sounds so awesome. I so envy you just to pick up and go. I'm just gonna, you know, get up and go to Chiang Mai. That, you know, like people do. That's just great. Evan Kellner says Ezekiel 35 to 39. I don't know what that is, but True Dreams. Hello, Eric. Hey, True Dreams. Crypt, the song. Yeah, the song. I mean, I know I use it a lot. So many people ask in the comments what it is. It's God, what was it called? It's called Freedom by Toxic Hearts. That's what it is. Let's see. Vikas, hey Eric, hope you're doing great. I am Vikas, thank you very much. Ultron, awesome to see you. Awesome to see you guys too. Brian, what's new? Not too much is new actually. It's just been, this week has been a lot of, for me, we've been trying to put things into processes and things. So we have the client projects that are still going on, but we're trying to do like a lot more with giving everyone job roles, so it's not just so much spinning plates all the time. So it's like you watch that plate, you watch that plate, you watch that plate. So we're trying to run. I am trying to run things like to get them more like a proper business, right? So that's what I was this morning, all day. I was at this planning thing. So about 6 months ago, I started going to this business mentoring group with a business coach and stuff. It's actually a group of people with a coach. And the nice thing about it is they hold you accountable to things. You can talk to other business owners, almost like a mastermind group, and just trying to not so much learn new things, because there's so much that we learn in books, but just to make sure, just to see how other people are working. And it's really, it seems like once you get to the next level, and then you look at other people who are doing so much better than you, and you think, I want to get to that level, and you're constantly going up and up and up. And I have to remind myself that for the longest time, I thought that this would be the ideal life. We just, just take on clients, just work by yourself, or have a team overseas, and that would just be the greatest life. And then you get to that point, you think, wow, it's, you know, there's other people who are able to fully automate it, and they have systems in place. So that's kind of what I've been working on lately. So we're doing that a lot lately. Shivam says, I got the basics of Flutter, and we always learn more when we get stuck. Should I drop you a mail or a Skype? Yeah, you know, I spent yesterday, every time I see a YouTube video on Flutter, I stop and watch it. I watched one by a guy who was making a WhatsApp clone. He wasn't actually doing the code for the WhatsApp, but he was doing the look and feel, and it was fascinating to watch. It's the thing, and I really need to get into it. It's one of these things where I'm constantly watching tutorials. I'm watching tutorials like someone would watch a cooking show and then never bothering to cook. Like I'm watching it, oh, that's really cool how he does that. Oh, I see how he does that, and I'm watching it. It was like a 45-minute video watching this guy. I can't remember what his name was. It was some like tech, like, yeah, it was some channel where they have a lot of like Flutter videos, and I really like the idea of that. One of my things that I don't like about Android specific, well, Android and also iOS or Swift, Objective-C, is that when you do the design, it's like in another language, or it's like XML in Java. I mean, you can do it in code. You can do it all in code, but you know, it's it's just the different ways. I mean, Silverlight and WPF are that way too, where you have the XAML on one side and you have the code behind, and I guess you have the same with HTML and JavaScript. Well, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I like the idea of Flutter, that everything is in one window and is constantly refreshing, and you have that constant feedback loop. This is one of the things I really like about Corona and also Ionic, is the constant refreshes. Whereas if you do native Android, and it might be getting better now with you have the partial reloads, is that you have to do the full compile again sometimes. So MTech Viral, guy name. Yes, that's it. MTech Viral. That's exactly what it was. I was watching one where he did yeah, thanks, Shivam. I was watching that and I was fascinated by it. I was just like thinking, oh, this guy, you know, he just made it look so easy. He would go off on these tangents where like he was just rambling on, but then he'd go, oh, so then we just have to add this and then this and then this and this. And then when I see somebody using Flutter, it's like well, it's like whenever you learn a new language, you see somebody who's really proficient at it, and then you're like, wow, how does he just know that? But because he's using it over and over again, and I'm thinking, I either need to get good at it like that, or get somebody else to get good at it. I'm kind of at the point now. So I'm 46 years old. I like doing the code, especially Node. I like doing Node.js. I like automating things, but it's also I need to start building the business and getting more work in and things like that, because I can only do so much on my own. And you know, and it's not fair. It's really not fair to the developers when I give them a project and then I take it over and just do the fun bits. So Nagash says, Namaste from India. Namaste. Kya aap kuch kana chahati hai? Is that right? Kya aap kuch kana chahate hai? So I took a semester of Hindi. I took a semester of, no, not a semester. I took a 10-week course on Hindi in Abingdon Whitney College, because I thought, you know, because I had Mandarin and Vietnamese. My Vietnamese is really bad, but I mean, the Army taught me that, and I just haven't kept up Vietnamese at all. But my Mandarin I've kept up, but so I thought I would take a course on Hindi, and it was a 10-week course, and it was like, I can remember certain words, and it was when it started to get to the masculine and feminine thing. So I said, you know, I would say like, there were certain sentences I remember how to say, kya aap kuch kana chahati hai? And they say, I'm a female, so it's whom, or whatever. You know, I was like, oh. So you have to start the sentence all over again. But I mean, I guess it's easy for some people. A lot of people say, like, it's funny because when I was, sorry, I know we're not talking about apps yet, but I'll just talk about Hindi. When I was 18 years old, I joined the Army, and they sent me to school to learn Chinese without telling me, when I thought, you know, there's no way I could learn Chinese. That's not what I agreed to. I agreed to Russian. So they sent me to learn Chinese, and it turned out to be not, I mean, it was difficult, but it wasn't as difficult as a lot of people think it is. There's certain things about the Chinese, some of the Asian language, Chinese and Vietnamese, which are I think, a lot simpler than Western languages. It's very easy to make a word past tense. It's very easy to conjugate verbs and things like that. Whereas you don't have these feminine and masculine and feminine objects like you do in Spanish and French and apparently Hindi. So when we got to that bit in the Hindi course, I was just like, oh, and I think I just came unglued, and I didn't do that anymore. So let's see. Vicus says, hey, do you know where to buy digital content like ebooks or for an ebook app? No, I don't, but we did do, you might want to look at using Project Gutenberg. I know it's old books that are out of copyright, but like we did one where we had an app called Read Racer. It was just I seen a lot of these speed reading apps, and I thought, let's do something like that, and I gave my totally newbie Android developer this task, and he went off and developed this monstrosity, which is called Read Racer, and it might still be on Android, but and occasionally we'll get it. Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if it's still live. I don't think it is. But we used what we used was Project Gutenberg. So we just had like an XML file which would download the thing and then parse it, and then we just show the text really fast. But that was a good way to do it. I don't know, Vicus, where you could get copyright books. Like if you needed to, I would imagine you'd have to go to the publishers, and to me it sounds like that would be a big headache. Let's see. Mega Man says, I just got my Mac Mini. Time to port my Unity games and Xamarin apps to iOS this week. That would be cool. Yeah, hopefully you don't have to change anything. Hopefully there's no little issues here and there. That was what I was going to do. I was going to get a Mac Mini to begin with, because we were doing, we had the Java apps, and then we had one iOS app when I got the Mac, and then I thought, and we were doing Corona, so we were doing Corona apps, and I thought about getting a Mac Mini so I could code on Windows and just compile on the Mac Mini, and in the end I just got a MacBook because, I just thought if something messed up, I wasn't really sure. At the time there wasn't a lot of documentation to say how much processor speed do you need, how much, all this stuff, but I think a Mac Mini would work really well for that. Crypt says, what do you think of Apple's upcoming requirement coming October 3rd where all apps require a privacy policy link? Don't we have that on Google Play now, don't we? So, it's a requirement. We have the privacy policy. No, it's a requirement if you have like camera. There's certain things in there that do require a privacy policy. So for me, I just have and I think that they put that into the apps too. So what we did was I just have like one web page, which is the catch-all privacy policy for all my apps. We have that URL in the Google Play console. I think we use the same page on the App Store, on the front page there, and then the hassle was to find some place to put it in the application itself. So it was just like another link. Like I didn't want to do any strange code there. I thought we'll have a link. You click a button, it goes to the web page, and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're doing that for. We've done it for a lot of our Corona games, but I don't know if we've done it for all of them. It's one of these things where I'm thinking, God, did we finish it? I remember going through and doing loads of them. So I don't think it's that bad a thing. It's more of a hassle that we have to go through and update these things, and also think, where's this privacy policy going to go? Because the truth is, a privacy policy or the terms and conditions pop-ups or the GDPR pop-ups, all they do is confuse the user. They make it, it would be more straightforward if we said someplace, hey, this uses ads, and they don't have a choice. You can either not use the app or use the app or whatever. But it's this whole, hey, here's our terms and conditions. It's 5 pages long. It is ridiculous that every time we update iTunes that we have to do this. We all collectively as a planet pretend that we've read those terms and conditions and say, I agree, right? Because it just changes all the time. So it's ridiculous. But the lawyers, I guess they're able to cover their butts or whatever. Let's see. Shivam's asking, No Name Land, you made it. Hey, how's it going, No Name Land? Shivam says, right now, who's using Flutter? Who is using Flutter out there? Because I'm excited about it. I don't get excited about. I'm trying to think. I got very excited about Firebase. I got very excited about Parse too. I think, yeah, you know what? Maybe I've got a weak mind and Jedis can manipulate it, because I like the marketing for these things. I'm like, oh, this looks really good, Flutter. But I think Flutter and React Native to a degree, but more Flutter, it seems to be more cross-platform than the WebView frameworks. And even React Native, there's so many dependencies that go into that, when you try to compile it. But Flutter seems to be very straightforward every time I've used it, and it has better tooling. So just out of the, like, if you use VS Code or you use Android Studio, just there's a plugins for that. So Plexus, hey from Australia, hey, how's it going? Dominicus Kruger says, there's a guy making Flutter challengers here on YouTube. Very cool to watch. I'll have to check it. Yeah, there's so many people. This is one of the things, I know it's been around for a while, and I think I said this 6 months ago, that if you're getting into it now, it's still a very small market, and it would be, like that would be the time. If you want to develop your niche in that thing, you could be doing all those videos and doing all those blogs and everything. I suppose I could have also, but I didn't. The reason I say that there's not a lot of people to do it, because like when I go out looking for developers, I go to like onlinejobs.ph, this is a Philippines freelancer website. Sometimes I look at Upwork, but it depends. But I don't see a lot of people with those skills. If I look for PHP, there's a gajillion PHP developers out there, or WordPress developers or whatever. And I think that's the reason for that, is that if you're going to learn a new skill, you might as well learn one which has a lot of jobs available. But when everybody does the same thing, then it gets overcrowded. And if you go for a niche, you could probably charge more money because there's not so much demand, or there's not so much supply, but there's also might be less demand, at least initially. But then when the demand picks up, then you're ready for it. At least that's my thing. Fluttery. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks, Dominicus. Danilo says, I'm on vacation but not missing live session. Hi from Greece. Danilo, stop the live session right now and go outside and enjoy yourself. It's Friday night. You're in Greece. Look, you could always catch this later. Danilo, what if we all promise not to talk about anything interesting so you can go out and enjoy your holiday, right? It's like Post Malloy says, hey, Eric, what's the average rate you pay your developers? I don't know if I want to answer that one. It's less than a lot of. It's less than you might think. So it's it's probably. I imagine it's less than you might think. I had a meeting with a company this week about hiring some developers in India, and I've spoken to developers in India that I've hired before, like through service providers, and the service providers would charge me something like. It's been as low as $7 an hour actually at one point, but sometimes it's 18, sometimes it's 25. It depends on the level of skill. It's 25, sometimes it's 30, right? But it was I was talking to somebody, and they're talking about junior developers would be like, it was close to £3,000 a month, which was, to me, it seemed like a lot, but almost comparable to when we can get somebody here. But yeah, so it's usually less than 1,000. And it depends on the skill level. That's really what it is. If it's a developer, then they have to have a certain number of years of skill. But what I try to do, and this might sound bad, is I try to find somebody who is really well skilled but wants to work from home, doesn't want the office life, doesn't want the full thing, and they're happy. They just want to be. They're willing to work for a little bit less as long as they can work on really cool projects and work from home. And that's kind of the way I see the company going forward. I would love it. I know I'm in an office, but I would love it if all of our developers and our designers and everybody was at home. And when we have our team calls, you should hear in the background, there's dogs barking, there's children playing, there's all this kind of stuff. And it's like, if it was like a business meeting, like a conference call, we got to be serious, we got to be professional. But that's not it, because we're Overpass. I know that they got all this stuff going on. I'm glad that they can work close to their families. They don't have to commute anywhere. They could work on stuff that's really cool. And it's my job to make sure that they have something interesting to work on. and they're, you know, and everything like that. So so I don't want to tell you the exact amount because you guys might think, Eric, how shocking. No Name Land says, if you want an app to look at, you can have a look at Budget Book CH development in the Play Store. No Man, is that yours? No Name Land, we can have a look at that if you want. Let's see. Nagash says, wow, very nice, sir, you're doing great, and sorry for my bad English. Oh no, that's that's right. Khadija Baba says, the important question is how you found a good niche. So for me, so so there's my niche. I was talking to Rodrigo about this earlier this week. I said, my niche is creepy spy apps, but I want my niche to be educational apps. So the first app was this creepy spy app, which, you know, it seems to do really well. And then I got the educational apps, which do okay, right? And those are the ones I want to show people. Hey, we got this app on how to learn Chinese, how to learn Hindi, how to learn all these other languages. And, yeah, and everybody says, well, what's this one that gets all the downloads? Oh, that one's called Ear Agent. You can, you know, spy on your neighbors or whatever. So it's like, it's, you know, it's like, I always imagine that's what, yeah, like if you're a software developer and you work on porn websites, you know, if people say, hey, you've done anything I've heard of? And they'll be like, oh, no, I don't really want to say. So it's kind of that way. So let's see. Shivam says, your app, Hindi Words Bubble Bath Games icon, has a wrong text for Hindi. Oh, does it? Thank you. I guess we'll have to have a look at that. We haven't updated that in a long time. The designer may have got that one wrong. So it wasn't my current designer, Sandy. It was another designer who came in on a temporary basis. So I have to look at that one. Let's see. Actually, yeah, I think I know, because I know the characters for Hindi. I'll have to have a look at that, because I did learn the characters for Hindi on the Hindi course. So it's kind of embarrassing I didn't notice that. No Name Land says, P.S. Thanks for all the videos. I'm learning a lot. I'm glad. Some days, I know that some days are not great. Some days, well, I mean, it's just talking. Turn on the camera. We'll talk for a little bit. And I know sometimes people say, I don't care about this. I don't care about this. I'm like, well, you know. But I think it's fun to talk. It's fun to talk about stuff. More for me, more to hear the comments and or to read the comments, and you guys all tell me about interesting things. Like I could give my opinion about something, and then you guys would say, actually, Eric, I think you're wrong. And I have to look at it again thinking, oh, am I? You know, so it's always good to have that kind of the back and forth and everything. And that's the bit. So I appreciate everybody who comments on the videos and likes and subscribes too. But, you know, I used to try to say that on every video, please like and subscribe, but it just felt so phony and I kept forgetting to say it. And now I'm just hoping that people have seen so many YouTube videos, they know that that's kind of, you know, it's not even like the amount of subscribers I have doesn't really help anything, but it's like, it just makes me feel good. Like, you know, it's like saying I could run a mile in whatever minutes, you know, it doesn't really matter, but it's like, it's just kind of this bragging thing that I could do when I'm talking to other people. Mega Man says, for Unity, I'll just recompile for my apps. I use Xamarin Android Native instead of Xamarin Form, so I'll need to redo the UI. Oh, that sucks. Azimuth PH says, the cure for cancer can be found in terms and conditions, but nobody reads the terms and conditions. That's true. I used to say, if you want to keep a secret, hide it in the terms and conditions, right? Like, you just, because nobody will ever find it. Let's see. Abdul Hafid, how's it going? Hussein Goktas, how's it going? Is there a way to learn how much popular a keyword other than Google Trends? Yeah, you could use a Google keyword tool. So you can have a look. So like if you're going to do like really basic keyword search, you could just go through, use a tool. What's it called? There's different ones. There's the one that just uses suggest. God, I'm blanking on the name of it, where it will just use the Google suggest. So if you go into any Google window and you type in a few characters, let's just do that here real quick. Sorry, if you don't mind, Hussein. Sorry, I know I'm behind on the questions again, I think maybe. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So let's go to play.google.com. So the Google Play Suggest is one of the first places you can just go into apps. So if I go into ear, right, you can see so I give the seed keyword. It will give me some other things that people search. So it thinks that this is something that's popular. If somebody's going to type in that, they'll do that thing. So here we go. Ear agent is Ear agent is second. Ear assist is third. Those are both my apps. Ear and ring. I don't know who that is. So ear agent. And then Ear Agent Pro, Ear Agent Spirit, Ear Spy Hearing Aid, all this kind of stuff. So you can start to do that, and that's one of the easy ways you could do to get keywords. We have a keyword tool, or we have a ASO tool on our website, but it's got some issues with it due to a recent API change. And a lot of people have been trying it and telling me about it, and I just need to get that fixed. But another one is Google Keyword Planner, so which is on AdWords. Is that right? Let's see, I'll just do a search. Keyword Planner. So if you're going to go into the Google Keyword Planner, you could also do that. Now, the Google Keyword Planner is not for Google Play, and this is one of the things that a lot of people use, but it's making the assumption that somebody doing a search on Google search is going to get to the same kind of thing. So or it's going to be the same type of stuff. If somebody's searching on a certain search term on Google, then they're probably searching the same kind of things on Google Play. But if you wanted to use something that was more specific towards Google Play, you have stuff like Mobile Action and Sensor Tower, and I never know how accurate those things are. Somebody from Mobile Action has asked whether or not we could do a video on it and then just do an interview, and I'm thinking about doing that because I really don't like those tools because they may be useful, but I think they're confusing. It's like if somebody showed me specifically how to use it, like, oh, this is how you'll do it and all this stuff, then that would be useful. But what they're doing is making a lot of promises saying this is the tool that you need, and all you have to do is pay $80 a month or something like that. So I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. So let's go to Keyword Planner. I think I have to sign in. I'm not signed in. All right, well, so yeah, use a Google Keyword Planner. Sorry about that. Let's see. I'll have to sign in there. If you guys want to see it, we could go through that. Let's see. Abdulhafid says, hi, Eric. How to learn AI in any website for free. I'm working on a new idea related to Instagram app. Do you have any advice for me to promote it using Instagram influencers or using App Store or Google Ads? Google... So the App Store has their own ad search engine. So it's been a while since I looked at it, but that's another avenue for keywords. It's App Store keywords. It's not Google Play keywords. But even if you're not going to place an ad, they actually have a really good tool. And it's been like a year since I've looked at it. Should we have a look now? Let's just have a look. Let's go back into iTunes Connect. Hopefully. Actually, I'm just going to turn this off just in case. Just going to log in. And hopefully I don't have to do the dual authentication. Dual authentication, I know it's a good thing, but it's such a pain. Let's see. I'm just trying to hide my client apps here. Let's go to Overpass. Cool. So let me just go to my screen here. If we go to... How does this work again? Is it sales and trends, payments, finance reports, my apps? Was it? Oh yeah, it's a different app, isn't it? Search ads. All right. Yeah, I haven't looked at it in a while, so this is what we should probably do it. We should probably do a video on this. Yeah, search ads at apple.com. That's what it is. So I sign in. Basic. So if you go into this and you start selecting your ad, it will say which keywords you want to use, and it will show you the popularity of those keywords. If we could get this working here, so let's go add an app. And you don't have to actually go through and create that. And this is if you have an Apple account. You don't actually have to go in and create the ad, but you get to a certain stage where you get to this tool where it will tell you how popular those keywords are. That's assuming it still works. And of course, it's going to be really slow because I'm sharing my screen. So let's just see. All right. Oh, so No Name Land. We're gonna have a look at your app here. What is it? It was called Budget Book. Budget Book CH development. While we wait for this thing to load. Oh, you know what? I hate Apple. I hate iTunes. I hate just waiting. It seems like it works part of the time. Let's just, all right. If you guys are interested, we'll go back to that. Let's see, Budget Book by CH Development. Oh, here we go. Budget Book. So this one belongs to No Named Land. Let's have a look. So take control of your finance. So we got so Budget Book, personal finance budgeting. Cool, that looks good. You might not need budgeting. You might want to replace that with another one because you already have budget in there, but budgeting might be something different people are searching on. So have a look at how well that's doing. I like the screenshots. I like the idea that you're selling what it does isn't what you earn, but how you spend it. Sinclair Lewis, take control of it. I like these screenshots. I like the way that you have the background as being other things, like we've been talking about that the last few weeks. So you don't necessarily have, if you're going to show the app, you have like a transparent background, you see the same thing again and again, you might as well have something a bit more sales, you know where your money's spent. I think that looks really good. Let's see, you got 100 plus users, budgeting. Let's have a look at the, cool. Now it might be, now I'm wondering, No Name Land, if this market is a bit crowded. Sorry, am I rambling on today? It feels like I am. I think it's because I was rushing to get to the live stream. So let's have a look at App Annie. And again, somebody was asking about how much I pay for App Annie. I only use a free version. I've only ever used a free version. The difference between the free version and the paid version is like a small fortune. Like if they had I would pay for App Annie if it was realistic. Like if they said, you know, because it feels like I should. So let's go through and we'll search for Budget Book by CH Development. Let's look at on Google Play. So just have a look at the ASO on this to see what kind of keywords you're ranking for, and also which other ones we might be able to do. So Budget Book, you're ranking number 4. That's good. It's the name of the app. My Budget Book, cool. Finance Budget 12. That's not bad. Budgeting 19. Cool. Budgeting, forecasting, budget help. So yeah, I mean, I wonder how we can get these up here a little bit. So yeah, budgeting, like that's in your title. So that's ranking 19. You're up 47. Let's have a look at that. So let's have a look at the trends on some of these. We'll select budgeting. Let's select finance budget. So for some reason in the last, let's see. So the nice thing about App Annie also is you have the history. You can have a look. So it depends on what you've changed. Sometimes you just have these random things. You have apps coming in, apps going out. The algorithm changes, all that kind of stuff. So, but if you make a specific change, you can see whether or not you made a change. So here you can see for the word budgeting, you were at 66 and you jumped up to 19, which is, you know, I'm wondering why that happened over a 2-day, because you actually dropped there. You went for 28. So it seems like it's rising. And that could be because you're getting more users, you get more downloads and all that kind of stuff. So when we talk about doing advertisements, you know, the two things, like if you did an ad where you had a cost per install of 50 cents and you were making $1 from the user, it would be a no-brainer. And that's what everyone always talks about ads, you know, your lifetime value of your users. But if you don't have that, it might still be a good idea to do advertisements just to get the rankings up, you know, on a temporary basis, get those reviews in, get those things in, get some validation to the application, even if it's just like a short-term burst, right? So not as an acquisition strategy, but as a growth strategy, if that makes sense. If I use those terms correctly. Let's see. So no, I think that looks good. If anybody else has anything to say there? Let's see. I'm right behind again. Sorry, because I went off on that tangent about the Apple ads. Pritam says, hello, Eric. Hey, Pritam, how's it going? Let's see. Vikas says, thanks for the response. Shivam, your app Hindi. Okay, it's wrong to Hindi. Let's see. Sorry about this. Jahan Zeb. Hey, Eric. Hey, how's it going? True Dreams. Eric, when will your next super hit? What will be your next super hit app after EarSpy? I wish if I knew, that would make my life so much easier. But we're still working on a few things. Oh, Josie, how's it going? You've changed your name, Josie. It used to be Jahan Zeb / Josie, didn't it? Moto G5. Hey, Eric. Hey, how's it going? Kajita says, what do you think about spam app? A lot of money in this app. Spam app? Is that a certain app, or is that just people spamming the app store? By the way, let me ask you guys: has anybody suffered from the repetitive content rules yet? Because I haven't yet. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe I'm jinxing myself for saying it, but I haven't been yet. So let's see. Randy Hulls says, "Hi Eric, have you tried capacitor yet?" No. Ionic considers the evolution of hybrid development. What's your opinion on this? I have not looked at it. Capacitor. That looks cool. I know I get a lot of grief about Ionic because I did that one video about it. But I think if they can get away from the web view, and I know that's kind of what it is. I mean, that's the beauty of the Ionic framework is it's built on Cordova. But their frameworks are so clever and so flexible, and and that was just the one thing. Even like looking at React Native, it doesn't run in a web view, but it's partial. I guess it's still not ideal, but I think if they had something there, I'll have a look at Capacitor. I've never even heard of it, so I guess I just don't have my finger on the pulse anymore. Let's see. Risky Jat says, "Sir, why my Facebook ads high CTR 13%, and now my interstitial ads is suspended? I'm in appeal waiting Facebook answer. I think Facebook ads are quality ads, so their click-through rate is high." Yeah, 13% doesn't seem like a high click-through rate. I mean, and that's the whole thing about Facebook is they should be showing really personalized ads for their users because they know all about them. So, but if they suspended it, I've never heard of anybody getting their Facebook ads suspended, but I haven't really heard. Most people I talk to are AdMob users, so that's interesting. Abel Hafid says, "Of course, I lost almost 100 Google Play Dev accounts." Really? And 6 AdMobs. Wow. Do you get Saif Karachi says, "Do you get paid as soon as the users see the ad, or he has to click on it?" This is one we talked about this week. It depends on the bid type of the ad. So this is one of the things we talk about, the 4 different bid types. The 2 main ones are cost per click, or cost per cost CPC or CPM, cost per mil. Yeah, sorry. So it's the amount of impressions that you pay for. So it's one of them is based on how many times it shows. One of them is based on how it's clicked. So it depends on the bid types, right? If you're going to do an ad and you only want to pay for people who click through the ad, then you would do pay per click, which seems to be the most popular one. So you could have ads showing and nobody ever clicks on it, and you're making a very tiny amount. If your CPM is say $1, then if you show 1,000 ads, you would get $1, right? If that's the bid type. So, and you don't really know the bid type, but if you go into AdMob, I wish I could show you guys my AdMob. If you go in there and just go into the report section and then select group by bid type, you can see what bid types you're making the most from. And for me, it's CPC. So, and that's one of the things we talked about. We talked about on a video earlier this week. Let's see. Josie says, yes, it was John Hansen, but I have many nicknames like Josie, Zaib, and so forth. I have no nicknames, Josie. So let me borrow one of yours. See, that's one of the things about the name Eric. You can't shorten it. I used to always like the name Dave or David or Dave or Davey or something like that, or Mike, Michael, Mikey, right? Or there's all these names, Richard, but like Eric is just Eric. There's no other. There's nothing else, right? So, it's poor me. So let's see. I think Abdul Hafiz says, sorry, Eric. I speak with Kajita. Okay, cool. I could try to read that. Is that all we have? Okay, so I think we've answered all the questions here today. Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about or on us have a look at? Let me see if I get these search ad things working here. Yeah, Apple is just, you guys, I don't know if you guys use Apple, the App Store, iTunes App Store, but sometimes it doesn't work properly in Chrome. Sometimes it doesn't work properly in Safari, and you just get these issues with it. So I'm trying to run these search ads, and of course everything is slowing down. Add an app. I'm gonna do in the wrong. Okay, let's just do. Sorry, I'm not showing my screen just yet. Okay, now I'm going to show my screen. Okay, so this is the if you go into search ads in Apple, hopefully I can see this. My monthly budget will be. Let's do my monthly budget. Can we do $10? My cost per click, let's do 10 cents. Suggested 120. Fine, 120. So let's do $100 a month, £100 a month, because I'm in England. Let's do it in pounds. So let's go to save, and will it give me some keyword rankings here, or did they remove that? Let's have a look. Ads will run through. That's it. All right. So obviously I'm running ads now. I'm gonna have to stop that. But there used to be a nice keyword thing here. Front storefront. Skip. Complete later. Oh, they must have changed it. All right. Well, sorry about that. This is what I get for not checking before the video. We do this kind of stuff. I'm gonna have to stop that ad now. Now I gotta figure out how these ads work so I can turn it off. Actually, maybe it'd be good. It wouldn't be bad to spend £100 in the next month and see if we get an increase in revenue on that. It's always good to check from time to time. So let's have a look. Does anybody have anything else to talk about? Josie says, this is already short and precise. Talk about promoting your apps with Instagram influencers. Is it good? Is it works good and cheap? Now, Abdul Hafid, I have never done this, but I have a client who has. I have a client who did he has a certain niche for his app. So he was telling me that he went on Instagram and just started finding the top people in his niche, and he started just reaching out to them saying, could you promote my app? And because they have their Instagram account, they're building up their audience. If it fits with them and it's not going to, and they can make a little bit of revenue from it, then you might be able to get that done. But you have to think about your niche. So a lot of people ask me if I will promote their apps on this channel, and I'm thinking, not unless your app is geared towards app developers, because that's who watches the channel. But if your app is a game, you have to think, who would like this game? Or if your app is for a certain, like it's an educational game, you think who would want to learn that? Would it be teachers? Would it be students of that thing? And what other things would they be doing? You have to think that those are the people you should target. Like if you have a medical app, you'd want it to go to people who are maybe doctors, or they have medical channels and things like that. So, but I mean, for me, I've never done it myself, so I'm just talking. This is one of those things where we talk about. It's not based on experience, but it's based on hearsay. So the person I spoke to said it worked really well for him, but I've never done it myself, and I've thought about it, but it's just because I imagine if you have to put yourself in the perspective of you have an Instagram channel and you're growing it, but maybe you're not making a lot of money from it. Then if somebody comes to you saying, hey, can you advertise this thing and I'll pay you, or how much would you charge me to advertise it? And then there would probably be it would probably have to suit their audience. So it would have to be something that would add value to their audience, so their audience don't leave, but at the same time, it makes them a bit of revenue. So I have been contacted by a few people saying, can you promote this? We'll pay you on your channel. And I'm thinking, no, I can't, because then if I did promote this, unless it was something you guys were interested in. So I'm thinking about the mobile action one. I'm thinking about doing that one because that would be useful to everybody to see how mobile action works. But there's some of these other things I'm thinking, no, because you guys would all leave. You would leave if I talked about like some random thing because somebody was paying me to do it. And so that's what you have to think about. If you can find the right person to promote your app as a social media influencer. I'm not a social media influencer, but I mean, if you did find somebody, I mean, that's just my opinion. So, No Name Land says, how do you get users to rate or review? This is what we do. We started out doing the same thing that everybody else did, which is we have the little pop-up that says, please rate the app, or, you know, do you like the app? Yes. If you click yes, then you go to the thing. So there's one called, I think it's Appcelerator. It's an Appcelerator that was like a pop-up that you could put in there, and just like a library, but there's loads of them. And we changed that to try to be a bit more cute with it. So we had like a little, so now on our games especially, we have a little girl that comes up and says, please, right? And that will, you know, encourage people to do it. And we also have, all of our apps have a rate button in it, you know, rate the app. And you cannot incentivize reviews, right? Because that's against terms and conditions, but you can make it easy for your users to do it. So if you don't have a button that goes back to the Google Play page someplace in your app, you probably should, because you think if they do like it, if you can get them to like it, you want to send them back there so that they can leave the review, or at least make it easy for them to do it. Because they're not going to go onto the Play Store and then do another search and then find it. So that's what we do on that a lot, so we can get people to go back in. And you know, and the thing about it for me, because I'm not a real big review leaver. I'm just not. I never have been. I don't leave reviews on Amazon. I don't anything. But we're still trying to get people to leave reviews on the apps, and I you know, so it's you know, and hopefully good reviews, not just bad reviews. So let's see. Risky Jot says, Facebook suspended my interstitial placement only not banner. I think the reason to suspend is because my app specialized for India, so impressions and click are from India only. They say they're invalid. Oh, okay. No Name Land says, how do you get users to rate a review? Okay, so we talked about that one, and you guys are still speaking with each other in a language I do not understand. You guys talking about me? Let's see. Kun Patel says, how to increase downloads. We talk about that all the time. It's something that is such a broad topic. There's a video I did years ago called How to Increase Google Downloads. You have to think about how can you get people to find your application. It starts with the same thing. We all have that same journey we have to get to. We got the first stage is discovery. How can we get people to discover our app? How do we get them to find it? You know, are they searching for it? Do we have to pay to put ads in front of places? Do we have to build an audience so that we can show it to everybody? Do we have to knock on everyone's door and tell them about it? Hopefully we don't have to do the last one. So discovery. The second thing is how do you get them to download it? So if you look at the acquisition report, these are the major steps. So you get if they go into it and they see it and they're not downloading it, or if it's showing up in search, and again, it's a search, it's easier to see this on Apple. If it's showing up in search, you can see the impressions, but on Google, you can kind of do it. So if they're going into the Play Store listing or the page listing and they're not downloading it, then you have to think, what about your screenshots? How can you make it more compelling for them? They're obviously were interested. They did the search. They discovered it. They liked the icon. They clicked on it. But why did they not do that download, right? So how can you get there? And then if they download it and they're not making, then you got them in the app. Then you think about how can you get them to, how can you monetize them? But that's the journey there. Now the really good thing about Google Play is that they just brought in those organic search results, so you can see now what people are searching. The people who are finding it, what are they searching on? And you could do that. So let's say people are searching on a certain keyword and you say, oh, the people who have found it were searching on this. What other keywords can I do related to this that might be synonymous, like a synonym or another word people will use for that? Maybe you can start putting those in there and see if you get more traction in. So there's so many different things to talk about there. Chris see, too much wasabi. Hey, how's it going? Search ads gives basic keywords, gives keyword suggestions, not search ads basic. Is that what I did wrong? I swear that it was different before. All right, well, I won't go through that whole step again. Let's see. Chris Tapa says, what are your thoughts on PWA? We talk about this one a lot. Progressive web apps, I think I think they're going to be exciting. I think they're going to fill this gap that we have between websites and apps. That, you know, there are some apps that should not be apps, right? They just to ask somebody to download something and take up the memory on their phone so they have this thing permanently on their phone and they're only going to use it a handful of times is not really necessary. Also, you have the Play Store and everything, but you have other things that should be apps. Some things that use Bluetooth, things that use all the other different features and everything. So some things are better as apps, and some things, I mean, you see so many apps that you're thinking this could just easily be a website, or it could be a web page, or it could be progressive. And I think it's going to fill a nice gap there. And I think it's going to be, for me, the thing that always scared me about it, not scared me, but I have reservations about, is that there's so many users have been trained that the place you get apps from is the App Store. So they know that that's where to go. And if you give them something that's not in the App Store, then they're kind of confused about it. And the only reason I say this is because I had one client where I was trying to get them to do PWA, and I was saying, yeah, but it's not on the App Store. You just have to go to URL, and then you can download it. And they're like, yeah, it was almost like I was trying to give them something that wasn't as good. Like, I'm fine, we'll do an app, right? So it's a thing. So Rodrigo says, I got a question. Okay, and it's somewhere. Okay. Let's see. Bala Murali says, "Hi Eric, you create multiple interstitial placement or single placement to display in different screen of app." I do just single interstitial placement, and then I show that. So yeah, it's only one interstitial placement that we're doing. Just because it's interstitial, it covers the whole screen, but you could do multiple, I suppose. Let's see. Charun says, what's your thoughts on Cordova app? So I've did a video about this, it was specifically about Ionic, but because I think Ionic's a good framework that sits on top of Cordova. Cordova is a great framework. We've done so many apps of Cordova. And it's really, I mean, there have been so many things where I thought we couldn't do this in a hybrid because it requires so many different components. It's never going to work. And then we found a way to make it work. So there's so many plugins out there, but it's the whole web view thing. You know, if occasionally you'll get the issue where something fails in the web view, and if you code it right, you'd probably be fine. But it's at some point, I think, you know, some of these things should go to native, not just native, but something that runs native. So so things like React Native doesn't. It's just JavaScript. It runs a JavaScript runtime. It shows native, it uses some native components, and some of it's like not native, but it's not just a web view, which makes the development a bit different. Nice thing about Cordova apps is you can just launch a browser and you can have everything refresh automatically, and you can watch the console and everything like that. And if you've ever had a Cordova app where you got the white screen because something failed somewhere, and then because it's in a web view, and maybe you don't have it reporting back to a central server, or you don't have any error logging in it, you don't know what it is. So it's out there in the wild somewhere, and somebody's saying we just got a white screen, and you're like, you know, you find out what it is. So that could be a bit difficult. But I do think a lot of people talk bad about Cordova apps and Ionic apps, you know, and they say they're laggy, they're slow, but you could really do really good work with them. So we've done a lot of them, but we're not doing them anymore, which is and that's just a personal choice. And I did a video about why I didn't, and everybody puts nasty comments on that video saying, yeah, this is because you blah blah blah, you don't know what you're doing. So I don't know. Let's see. Sandeep Bandari says, anybody submitted an app to iOS? How did it go? I submit apps to iOS all the time. It goes okay. Submitting an app to iOS is like, I mean, it's once you do it over and over again. I always think about it as like if you do your taxes, if you do your own taxes, and this is in the States. I mean, if you do your own taxes, you're like, this sucks. I hate doing it. Why are all these steps? Why do I have to do this? Right? But you take it to an accountant, and he's like, just like he knows what to do. This, right? And then he says, so I've gotten that way with iOS apps. Like I just know where everything is, right? When they ask these stupid questions, all these stupid redundant steps, like you're just like dun 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 dun. And I've had clients like been struggling with publishing an iOS app, and because I just know where to go. I know what all the questions are before they read it. I don't go, what do they mean by that? Do they mean this? Surely they don't mean this. I'm just like, doesn't matter, just do this. So that's just because I do it over and over and over and over again. But it is a pain. Let's see. Risky Jet, sir, I love your knowledge and your telling style. I'm a big fan of you, and I'm always waiting for your videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Josie says, does adding video really helps in increasing downloads? Were you talking about in Google Play? Are you talking about the App Store video? I'm trying to think. I've had people say that I've heard people say stats on the iOS side, and I don't know, because I've never really had two that were like a control and a, I've never actually done a scientific test there. My assumption has always been that that because they can see the application and they can run the video before they download it, then you have a chance to impress them with that. So, and for me, like I've done videos on iOS and it was just a pain because you have to do all the different screen sizes. It's like, again, this is the iOS thing. They're like, they just make you make everything difficult on iOS to publish an app, and on Google it's just a YouTube link. So you just put the YouTube link in there, and then you can just do whatever you want. And on Apple, it gets approved, so you can't show. It has to be like 30 seconds long. They may have changed this since I've done it. So you have to be 30 seconds long. It has to have a certain frame rate. You can't show. It has to be the app. It can't be something else. So let's see. Khadija Baba says, "Sir, you are so good. Can you give me your email to contact you?" The email is on the website. You can contact me. The comments is probably better because I'm not always able to answer the emails, and sometimes I mean, it's just not that. Risky Jot says, "Now you looking handsome." Hey, all right. So this because I went out to that meeting today. Thank you very much. Let's see. Deval Patel says, "Hello again. In Google Play acquisition report, what is a good number of page views, impressions, and conversion rate according to you?" See, this is one of those things where it's difficult to quantify. So for me, like 26% conversion rate is I think about what I get on Ear Agent. On other ones, it's like 10%, which means something's not working there. Ideally, it would be 100%. You'd think, right? If they've gone through all the trouble to view it, they're thinking, yeah, nah, right? So 3 out of 4 people are saying like, nah, which makes me think, dude, man, that's a lot, right? I can say 26% is good, but I always think that someone got there, so why wasn't I able to get them to do that? And I think, what, and a lot of this is, I think now with the new reports, I think I need to go through and see what keywords they're finding, because based on that, so theoretically, and again, I'm just guessing here, I could find out that people are searching more for augmented hearing rather than spy. Then in that case, I could make it a little bit more geared towards them, because now I knew what I was ranking for before, but now I know what they're actually searching on. So I could do a search on that and find the best ones there and start to convert it a little bit more, but I haven't done that yet. I mean, I just haven't got around to it yet. In fact, I did release a new EarSpy version this week, or Ear Agent. I released the new Ear Agent version this week because somebody was saying that their MP3 recordings weren't working, and it wasn't the first time I heard this, but I don't hear it very often because it's an in-app purchase. And so I went through and looked at it, and it's because the new it's Android 6, the new permissions, like it's not turned on by default using storage, even though it's in the Android manifest. So I had to put the check in there to say if it's not turned on, then prompt them to say your agent wants to use that. So it's kind of this callback thing, and it's a bit of nasty, just shoehorned it in there. Like I should have done, I should rewrite this whole thing and make it all elegant, but I was just kind of like, nah, just shoehorned it in there. So I actually did have to release a version of that this week. I forgot all about that. So Maddie JY2K says, "Hi Eric, a bit of a subject, but if you ask for GDPR AdMob consent, if the person is using your app are not in Europe, will they automatically see targeted ads and not have to complete the AdMob consent form? So that's a good question. See, when I was doing, when GDPR, everyone was so confused about it. I remember reading a Corona Labs blog post saying, well, you never know where they're going to be. So, or, you know, it applies to all EU citizens, so they could be gone. So you can't do it based on location. So you just have to show it to everybody. That's what Corona said. Google AdMob actually has the is EU compliant thing. So let me see if I can find this on here. So they actually have the check, which is, and I thought I'll just use that. So Google AdMob GDPR consent form. Let me see if I find it. Show the screen here. So there actually is in here, blah, 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 blah. What is it? There's a call for, so they've changed it. They actually have a check to see if it is EU. Oops. Sorry about that. Did I forget? Have I lost something? Am I still online? Let's see. Here we go. All right, so hang on, I got some problem with OBS. I can't show my screen anymore. Sorry about that. Oh man, technical glitches. But actually there is like a, at least there was, I have it in my code where it's a is EU, where there's actually a check. So I just went by that because that's what Google said. So I'm not sure if they've changed that or not. Sandeep says, I'm asking, are they still strict on 4.3 guidelines or somewhat relaxed? Oh, for Apple, you haven't released anything in a while. I'm just so fed up with them. If they're not strict on that, then I have a whole bunch of apps to put back onto the App Store. Maddie says, the reason I'm asking is I'm from the UK, but I'm living in the Philippines at the moment. And when I have tried one of your apps, it asked me for consent targeted ads. I don't know why I would need to. So like the Corona apps that we have is using the AdMob. So if it's one of the language games, we're just using the AdMob plugin for Corona, which doesn't have the EU check, right? So, if you're an EU citizen, which you, I guess, soon won't be, but regardless of where you are in the world, the law applies to you. So that was what Corona had said. So when we did that, when we did the Corona one, we didn't apply it to, we didn't use that check, even though the Google one does have that function to call, say, is EU citizen or is consent required. So Chrisom says, are you still doing coding or more into the business side? Chrisom, I am trying to do the business side. I am so trying to do the business side, but sometimes there's still this code that I have to write. There's these legacy projects where it's just still like it would take too long to give it to somebody else, so I'm still doing it. So I have these little things that I need to work on, and I'm still doing that. But hopefully, and it's not because I don't like coding, because I do like coding, but there's only so much that I can do in the day. And it's also, I think, this is the thing, I think it'd be easier for a coder to become a manager than a manager to become a coder, right? This is something I've always thought. So like if you have that coding skills and you could, at some point, you get to the point where you're helping junior developers do what you used to do, or things that you do, then that's probably a good thing. So I'm trying to do more of that. But I've also worked with people who said, like in my career, where they'd say like, no, Eric, I used to be a developer too. I coded in VB2. So if you have any problems, you come to me. And I'm like, VB2? Yeah, that's not going to happen, right? So I don't want to get to that stage either. So like I want to keep current a little bit, but it's still that. But I don't want to be the guy always coding, right? And I need to get out of the habit of taking the code away from the developers. Whenever there's like a little snag and they're going, well, I'm really struggling with this thing. Get out of the way. I'll do it, because then, I mean, we've all been in that situation where we're struggling with a bit of code, and the way we get better is by keep continuing to struggle with it, right? Not having somebody that we could run to fix those problems. So I'm trying to do that. It's one of these things where you know it needs to happen, but it's really hard to do it. Josie says, but I know that uploading a video on App Store is a hassle, but still want to upload the video. Yeah, you have to do, unless they've changed it recently, you have to do it in Safari also, which means you need to have the Mac. You know, but yeah, I think the difference between now, I think it was iOS 11, the changes with iOS 11 and the changes to the App Store where they show the video as you hover over it. It's a lot more compelling as before when you're looking at that. So let's see. Dhaval Patel says, are the same app version allowed, like free and pro allowed after the last policy update of repetitive content, or should we remove one of them? That's one of the, I still don't know the answer to that. I still have everything the same. I am hoping that I am not in violation of it. I haven't been checking recently to see if they've clarified their language on it, but as of a few weeks ago, it was unclear. So I'm just kind of, I'm still out there. So that's why I keep asking if anybody has had this, so if anybody has a problem, like they get their app suspended, you know, let us know, because so far I've been okay. Let's see. Orion Core says, I thought this started at 7. No, it's 5 o'clock 5 o'clock UK time. So so sorry you're late. You know, this I tried to schedule them, but then I kept messing up the schedule, so I just go live. So I just try to do it at the same time each week. Let's see. Fiction Studio said, is it better choice to switch from native Android to Flutter? Is Flutter have a good feature? Why would you go from native Android to Flutter? For me, it would be so you could support iOS, right? You know, so I mean, you could be a cross-platform developer using Flutter, but if you're only doing Android, I think just stay with native Android. This is and the reason I like Flutter is because it's run by Google, and my hope is that unlike other hybrid frameworks, whenever there's the new announcements from Google I/O, they say we're going to have this new feature that does whatever, right? And then you start saying to Ionic or Corona or whatever, the frameworks that sit on top of it, you say, when are you going to support this? And they're like scrambling to keep up, right? Whereas native has it immediately. I'm hoping that Flutter, because it's owned by Google, at least has the Android stuff when that stuff comes out. So, and Xamarin is actually really good at that. Xamarin, they do have the betas and they're keeping up with all the latest stuff. Rodrigo, thoughts on the new phones? I only just barely looked at it. Like, because I keep thinking, I've got my iPhone 8 and they say the home button is gone. They got this new, you know, the new iPhone versions, and I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to buy another Apple device. I honestly don't want to buy another Apple device. I want to get another Android, and I want it to work with my. Here's what I don't like about Apple, and this is completely unrelated to apps or whatever. It's nice hardware, but Siri, I hate Siri. I hate Apple Maps. I hate Apple Music. I hate Apple. I still use Google Music, or I thought about switching over to Spotify, but if I use Siri in the car, it only does Apple Music. So I've got this I've got Apple Music and Google Play Music. All the music I like and all of my playlists are in Google Play Music. All the music I've uploaded over the years, everything. But I can't listen to it when I'm in the car through the speaker. I can't say, hey Siri, play whatever, Black Eyed Peas, whatever it happens to be, right? Because it'll say, you don't have this in your Apple Music library. It's like, I only have like 3 albums in the Apple Music library, and one of them is that U2 one that you forced me to have. So, so yeah, but that's my thoughts on it. I mean, I'm going to try not to get the latest Apple phone. I'm hoping we don't have a client project that requires me to have one, and then I have to go out and buy another one. It's bad enough I had to buy 2 Apple phones this year because the first one was stolen, and I had to go through, and I didn't want to buy the first one, but then I had to go buy it again. Sandeep says, please recommend some good books on various business skills, business soft skills, self-help, entrepreneurship, productivity, technology. I need to read at least 1 book a month. It's been years since I read books. There are so many good books. I'm trying to think about productivity. I'm still, getting things done. David Allen is probably one of the top ones, even though it's old school. It's like from might be from the 90s. So he talks about using file folders and stuff like that, but it's still a lot of the things you see today are based on that. In fact, a lot of the books that come out, like productivity books, are based on that as a core. David Allen's Getting Things Done. In terms of business books, my brother recommended. I've read so many business books, and I'm reading a few now. But my brother would recommend reading E-Myth Revisited, and I thought, E-Myth's probably like email or whatever, and I read it, and it was just like so interesting in terms of if you do run like a small business, how systems matter, putting things in place. If your business cannot run without you, then it's not a business. And somebody asked me on one of these live streams, how long can your business run without you? And I was like, well, a couple days, maybe, I hope. it's like not set up the right way. So it's me trying to evolve things as we go. There's a lot of things I'm still learning as we go, and there's that. Just trying to get things the right way. Some of the things that what's a really good book that I've read that made a big impact on me. The 10X rule is a good one, but it's more about sales, and if you're into the Grant Cardone thing, but that's more about just the effort that you put into things. Rich Dad Poor Dad is good, but I think Cash Flow Quadrant, the sequel, is much better, where it talks about the EBSI quadrants. So you go from employee to self-employed to business owner to investor, and making that transition from employee to self-employed is fairly easy. It's kind of what I've done. And then going from self-employed to business owner is a lot more difficult. And I'm a business owner, but I'm still very much in the self-employed because when we get a project and it goes wrong, I'm jumping in there and coding it, and what I need to be doing is setting up the systems in place. So there's so many good ones out there. Shivam says Flutter because why not have many skills? It's fun to learn new things. Yeah, I agree. I watching all that stuff. So let's see. Sandeep says your movie recommendation, The Big Short, was awesome. I enjoyed watching it. Did I recommend that? That was a good movie. Let's talk about business movies. we should do a video about business movies. That would be a good topic. So there's certain ones out there that I've watched that I watch again and again because it's more about the business side of things, and not business as being this big nasty thing, but the entrepreneur. So The Founder, I think, was a really good book. It's a really good movie. I read the Grinding It Out by Ray Kroc years ago, and I thought that was really good. But the Founder was a good movie. There's one called Joy with about the Miracle Mop lady, which was really interesting, the way she had to push, and everyone kept. I think it was really good the way everyone was doubting her through the whole thing. Was it The Pursuit of Happiness is also a really good book. It's these stories of people who are trying to do things, and everyone around them saying, "You're crazy. It's not going to work." They're doing the crabs in the barrel thing, pulling them back in, and they just continue to do it. And Jerry Maguire is one of my favorites as well. Jerry Maguire is being one of the business films. So let's see. Orion Core says, do you have any thoughts about UWP, Microsoft's store apps for Surface desktops? That's Universal Windows. Is that Universal? Is that the Universal apps? I remember reading about this a few years ago and thinking this is going to be really cool to be able to do this, but I haven't done anything with it since. WWE Wrestling says, hey Eric, hey, how's it going? Dava Patel says, last night I was reading about Unity engine. I would like to know your views on it. Should Unity Android games do good, or should I stick to native apps with Android Studio? It depends if it's a game. If you're going to do... There's some good book. I don't know if it's a good book. It's a book. I have a book on my shelf over here on Android development. Sorry, Android game development. They talk about doing your own game framework where you have the loop and everything like that. But because you have all these engines out there, you should use one of them. And I think Unity is one of the main ones. So, having said that, I've never used Unity, even though it's in my wheelhouse in terms of the technology. So it's JavaScript and it's C#. So the two languages I came in knowing that I thought I should have done Unity, but at the time it was really expensive to use and it was mostly 3D. And when they came out with 2D, I thought, well, we could do that. But we talk about rewriting a bunch of our games. But it's you know, I think you, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's always how much it's going to add to the size of the APK and things like that. But you know, because if you do it in native, it would probably have a smaller APK size, but it's, you know, how much is that worth? If you do it in Unity and you could go cross-platform very easily, let's say it takes off on Android, let's say it's a runaway hit and you need to move it over to iOS, and you have to rebuild the whole thing. It might be, I mean, if you have this major thing making loads of money, maybe that's not a big deal to do it in native again. But if you have it in Unity, that should be a fairly easy thing to do, I'd imagine. Mega Man 2016, Millionaire Fastlane is one of the best books I've read. Yes, I've read Millionaire Fast. I'm trying to think if I did the audiobook or the Kindle. I think that one I did on the Kindle, and it was the sequel, which is, yeah, I've read Millionaire Fastlane on the Kindle, and then the sequel, God, what's it, by Marco whatever, that one I did on the audiobook, and I think I did that on audiobook and Kindle actually, but yeah, that was a good one. I thought that was a good one too. Joy Banerjee says hello. Joy says my app was removed from the Play Store. Not sure what I need to do with it. You should appeal it, right? There's not much more we could say, but you know, try to think. If you can find out, appeal it, and if they say why it was removed, like if you're not sure why it was removed, appeal it. If they come back and say why it was removed, then you could, maybe you can appeal it again and say, okay, I'll make these changes. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of in terms of that. Risty says NativeScript is good, but I don't think that it has good documentation. It is more confusing compared to Flutter or React Native. I think the same thing. I looked at NativeScript, that it's Telerik, right? I was looking at NativeScript to begin with because I thought I love working with JavaScript, right? And I would love to be able to do that, but you know, without being in a web view. And NativeScript looked like a good option, but I was the same way. I didn't see like a lot of documentation. The same with what is the game framework? Not the Objective-C one. God, why am I blanking on this? 2DX? No. You know, but there's a JavaScript version of it. Oh, I'm not gonna remember what it is now. Shivam, the Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street's a good one too. Well, Wolf of Wall Street is more like a cautionary tale, right? But it is really fascinating. It's like watching a mafia movie, because like part of you thinking, oh, he's like going, you know, he's going down the rabbit hole. All these bad things are happening to him. It's like it's supposed to be a cautionary tale, but like all of us would happily change places with him, thinking, he's gonna get his in the end. But it's like, oh, that would be so cool to do that, wouldn't it? So let's see. Jesse says Flutter or React Native. We're using React Native a lot lately because that's the skills I could find, but I like Flutter, but again, I haven't used it really yet. So Mark Fowler says use Unity. You don't want to write your own game engine. That's kind of what I think too, right? You write your own game engine and you have no portability, and you have to redo it the same time the next time. If you use Unity, you have those skills, and you should be easy to do that on something else. So we use Corona, and see Corona, I had to learn Lua. But my developers did it first, and they said, oh, it should be easy, and then they did it, and they learned Lua, and then I learned Lua, and I learned Lua well enough to find out how bad their Lua was, and but then I have all this dependencies on Lua, and if there's any changes to do, I'm the one who makes them, because I'm the only remaining Lua developer in the team. Ed says, hi Eric, say you've launched your app right. About how much would you need to spend on advertising, and on what avenues to say reach 100,000 app views, not necessarily app download? I don't know. You'd have to, because it's all based on the targeting of the keywords and how you're going to do that. To get the app views, it shouldn't be that much, I want to imagine, because if you do a CPM, let's say you do a $1, well, let's see, because you want them to actually click through to go to the app views. I'm not sure. That's the kind of thing you should test. Don't start with a very small amount and see how it goes, because that's the nice thing about it. Josh Klomp says the book Getting Things Done is even popular in the Netherlands. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I'll reread that book. And right now, so my son, one of my kids got me for my birthday. He got me Productivity Ninja, which is a good book. How to be a productivity ninja, but a lot of it is based on GTD thing. So like I have like my inbox for Gmail I have multiple inboxes. I have the inbox and I have an action folder. So I try to clear the inbox every time I look at it. Sometimes I leave like 4 or 5 things in there, but then if it's something I need to do something with, I put them in the action folder, and then I have a waiting for folder and a read folder. So if something I need to read. To be honest with you, I don't go through the waiting for folder or the read folder that as often as I should, but I always check the action folder. I'm always going through the action folder saying, how do I get this off my to-do list? And if there's ever something that slips through the cracks, I'm thinking, I must have, it was because it didn't make it into the action folder. Eamon says, hey, Eric, I wonder, how do you manage your time? I'm having serious issue with that. Project management and coordination. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing time for shitty stuff. Yeah, me too. Okay, so the other day, so I did the video today talking about how a developer did the wrong thing. I did the Skype conversation where we're having this conversation on Skype, and sometimes Skype could just be such a slow conversation. You ask the developers a question, you're just like waiting for them to answer like this. All right, so rather than like what you should do is like ask a question and then get on with what you're doing and then come back to it. But then that's such a slow conversation, so you're just waiting for it. They're not answering. 5 minutes go by, and just like that's a bad use of my time. And then there's other times where you're doing the productivity thing and trying to get that done, using Parkinson's law and saying, okay, I'm only going to spend an hour on this, and I'm going to get this thing done. I need to get this done by this certain time or whatever. And for me, it's always, it's like if I know I have, like the videos, for example, if I know I have all day to do the videos, I tend to be much more, like I'll keep redoing them. Like I didn't like the way I said that. I don't know, right? And I'm just basically what I'm doing is I'm procrastinating. I'm wasting time because I'm thinking, oh, just make sure I get it perfect. When really, you guys won't care that I said at some point, or I said there's one that's coming up where I said rather than say take it for granted, I say take it advantage of, which is not the same meaning. And I think, should I re-record it? And I thought, well, no, I don't have enough time. So sometimes it's just boxing that time up. So make sure that you just have to say good enough. It's good enough. It's done, right? It's good enough. We just have to put it out there. I'll just apologize afterwards. And there's that. And just making sure that you box the time up so that you get this stuff done. And there's other times where things just don't seem that urgent. So you kind of just put them off on the back burner. And so that could be very difficult. I've tried lots of different things. The Pomodoro techniques is something that I keep going back to from time to time, and I'll get like excited about. I'll do it for like a week. I'll do it for an entire week where I'm doing the 25 minutes, take a break, 25 minutes, take a break, whatever. And but then I lose interest. I just go back to the old way of doing things. It's one of these things where, and when you hear people talk about like they do something, I consistently do this. For me, it's a lot of times I'll consistently do something for about a week, and then I'll go back to the other way, and then I'll remember, no, that was working before, and I'll go back to it. And it's just getting into the habit, I think, is a hard thing. Let's see. Risty says, Eric, does Overpass work with backend framework, or your apps are serverless based? Something like Firebase or AWS Lambda, etc. What is your REST framework, language framework? So we do both. Like, so we'll do our own REST interfaces, or we'll do something in Node.js. Sometimes it depends on the client, what they want. So sometimes we'll do, like we have one at the moment, which is in C#. Well, not C#, it's ASP.NET, I guess. So we have that as a REST framework, or ASMX. Was it ASHX? ASMX? Web services on the back end, or we have a REST API, or we'll do Node.js. Once we did one in PHP. That's because the developer's like, no, the PHP will be really good for this. And I'm like, I don't know. And then it was terrible. It was awful. But I like the whole serverless thing. And this is one of the things that we keep going back to. The downside of using Firebase is you have to make sure you get the download limits right, because it can be very expensive. If you we have an app at the moment we're looking at because it's downloading too much data each time, and we're running out of we keep reaching the data limits on the paid version, and so we go to the pay-as-you-go version, and it got really expensive. So we're trying to limit that, and it's all based on the different types of locking and stuff you have on the call. So but other than that, I like the idea of just having serverless, just having cloud functions that do everything for you, and that's something that I want to do going forward a lot more, and we're doing that a little bit. Jesse says, what do you tend to see? What do tends to see in the app space? I don't know. It seems like, you know, I used to go through and look at the top apps all the time, and I haven't done that in a while. I think apps are, you know, they're getting more niche, where you have to, like, you can't go to the app store and think I'm going to make exactly that because everyone's doing the same thing. But if you could find your nice little niche, then that would be good. My ear agent app was one where it's never really been, like, it's never been on the news or anything like that. It's not that popular, but it gets a lot of downloads, and it makes good revenue. It could probably do a lot better if I did that, but if I tried to get a little bit more exposure to it. But I don't know if that's a good answer or not. Chrisum Tapa says, what tools are you using for project management, time management? You do coding, business side, plus uploading video to YouTube. Do you sleep? So we hired a new video editor, Marvin, about 6 weeks ago, and that's helped a lot in terms of the video editing. So doing that, and sometimes it's a case of, where do I find the time to do this? And mostly it's thinking about what am I going to talk about for today. So sometimes the topics might not be that good because I just couldn't think of anything, or I'll try to answer a question. And sometimes I think this would be better if I could do a screen sharing thing with it, and I think I just don't know if I have the time to do it, so we'll talk about something else. But that's just kind of one of those things. Like, if you did it every day, you would find the time to do it. But for a while, it was taking me 2 hours or 3 hours a day to do it, the videos, and I realized I'm going to be this guy who talks about app development and never actually does app development because it takes so much time. And then I had somebody working in the office, and I was going to get somebody overseas to do the video editing for me, but the internet connections were always so slow. And then I had somebody in the office. She was doing it, but she left, so I was doing editing again, and it was back to 2 hours a day. And it was kind of, but it's still kind of fun. And then now we've got Marvin doing it, so now it's a case of I'll record it and then upload it to Google Drive, and he'll take it and do the editing and things like that. So try to make it look good and everything, which is much easier, so then I can focus on the apps and stuff. With project management, we use Trello. It seems like I've been through every. This is, again, we talked about shiny object syndrome. We've used Basecamp, we used Active Collab, we used PHP Project. We've used Jira. Right now we're just on Trello. I'm still, it seems like I just can't find like a really good project management tool that I really like. Akanza, yeah, we've used that one too. Let's see. Rodrigo says, Eric, what do you do when you are not feeling that well? When you just don't have the head to be coding, or you can't focus? So I get that a lot. So this week when I was like watching Skype, just all mad, I just couldn't focus, right? So I went for a drive. Sometimes it's just got to get yourself out of that space. So that's one of the good times to go to the gym, I think, is just go and get out. If I can go for a run, that's something good to do too. Yeah, there's just certain times where you're just not into it. But you know what? Most of the time, it's not that you're not into it. It's just that you haven't started. Like, I find that when I start coding on something, then I get into the flow, right? But it's just getting started, right? It's like going to the. I say the same thing about going to the gym. I think, okay, I'm just gonna go and just do bench press, right? Because then I'll talk myself into going. But once I'm there, I know I'm gonna do the rest, because then I'm like, oh yeah, this is good. So sometimes when you do the coding, you just do it. The same with writing a document. There's all these documents I'm supposed to write, but the reason is I don't start them is because I don't want to start them. It's like you have to get out, you have to think about it, whatever. But once you get into the flow of it, you could do that. So it's trying to do that, and it's most of the time it's not that you don't have the energy to do it, so you don't have the energy to start it. So if you can force yourself to start it, sometimes that works. And like if you're writing something, if you start and you just say, I don't know the introduction to this, so I'll start writing the middle, and then that way you get into the flow and you go back and do the beginning. So but that doesn't always work, but it does work a lot of the time. At least that's in my experience. So AJ Yadav says, do we need to pay taxes for our AdMob earnings? No. Well, it depends on where. I don't want to say because it might be a legal thing. But for me, AdMob is not taxable, but the in-app purchases and the purchases are. So they're subject to VAT, but the AdMob is not. And why is that? I think it's excluded from VAT. In the I looked this up. My accountants looked it up, but that's something that's not, because it's an advertisement thing, but or something with ads. But the they're actually making purchases with the other one. Can you guys can't see my screen here, can you? Let's see. So, Mr. Neptune, what do you think of self-care apps? Do any of the apps have subscription-based revenue? Do any of my apps have subscription-based revenue sources? No, none of mine do. In fact, if you guys saw, I was watching. I saw one of Steve P. Young's video this week, and he was talking about this app that's really successful. It's a voice changer app, and it was like $10 a week or something. And I thought, on subscription, and I thought, you know, I've never used a subscription. And I started thinking, could I do that? And it just seems a bit, you know, like I try to think, is there something I could do which warrants a subscription? And maybe it's just me being old school. Like, a lot of the times we don't charge what we could charge because it's a mindset thing in our head. Even when you're selling your services as a developer, you're thinking, nah, I'm not really worth that much. That's too much for me to charge them. But you know, they would happily pay, but you're just kind of, you got to get out of your thing. So it's good to experiment with, but I have not experimented with it. So, but maybe I should. Yeah, and I thought about that. Could Ear Agent have a subscription model? You know, I don't know. Yeah, I think it'd be difficult for the people who've paid for the full version already to go to subscription. But Orion Core, Eric, I was watching your earlier video where you thought about you were saying something. Sometimes run AdMob's universal ad campaign, but you pay like 2 cents CPI for US. So far, I can't get less than 20 cents CPI for US. Well, there's the no, I think I was doing was that CPA? CPI? I think that was yeah, no, it was, I think that was AdMob. AdMob I was doing 2 cents. So but for universal ad campaign, I do start at 2 cents. I do start at 2 cents, and then there'll be like no impressions. So I'll gradually increasing it, and you have the actual cost per install, which is based. So the AdMob one was based on it was cost per click. I think I was doing cost per click, and then cost per install is different. So if 5 people click and then it's 1 person installs, and it's still that. So that was one. And if I did let me know the video, because if I said it wrong, it's like, I'm pretty sure it was cost per click that I was doing through AdMob or through Universal App Campaign. But yeah, so I still have UAC campaigns going on right now. Let's see. No Name Land says, how long did it take for your first app to get proper traction, seeing as you didn't have Eric videos for tips? Well, you know what? I don't think these videos actually help the app. I think it's more because, I mean, but I did put a link to the video, to the channel in the apps, just thinking, maybe we'll get some more viewers that way. But that's like but I wasn't doing the videos in order to get people to go to Ear Agent. If I was, I would just talk about stuff that was related to it. Like I would do a little spy theme and everything. I would wear a trench coat and, hey, welcome to Ear Spy Central or whatever. But no, I mean, it took a few months. It took a few months for it to really start to pick up. But it was like a year afterwards where I localized it or globalize it, localize it, internationalize it, whatever the term is, where it actually started to really started to look good. And then it snowballed. So this is the thing. It's getting, you know, the more downloads you get, the better you rank. But in order to get more downloads, you need to rank well. So it's this chicken and egg thing. So Tonio Santivanez. I hope I said that right, because it's an awesome name. Tonio Santivanez says, how much would you charge for an unknown market? For example, I live in Peru and I need a tip on how to charge in, let's say, every Italian American country. So it's because you're going through the app. I'm assuming we're talking about app stores. So I've experimented with. So most of the time what I'll do is I'll just put the price in. I think it's GBP on the Google Play Store for me, and then you just do auto convert, and we just go through an auto convert. But I experimented a little bit with reducing the prices. I think I put it in India a lot lower to see if I got more downloads or more purchases, and I didn't. You know, and something you could do different stuff and just play around with it. And I've done that a little bit, but not so much. Let's see. Jesse says, how long did it take you to make a living on the revenue of your apps, if you don't mind me asking? That was like, well, I'm still not making a living on it because we're doing client work. However, Jesse, if I didn't have the team and I wasn't trying to do the other stuff, trying to build and grow and reinvest, then I would be able to, but it would be, so it would be okay. It would be like, I think right now, if I was just to let everybody go and close the office and just go home and sit at home, I think I'd be making $42,000 a year, which is not bad, but it's not like I want to be able to afford the Mustang, like that kind of stuff. So we do the client stuff. So that's one of the things. It's like, I think, yeah, I could, and you know, I could just survive off of that, but it doesn't. But I was contracting, so yeah, it was like 3 years was contracting, and I remember at one point making, you know, $3 or $4 a day, or 3 or 4 pounds a day, and people saying, "Oh, that's cute. No, that's really good. That's like you could, you know, it's, you know, they say the same thing. It's better than a stick in the eye or something like that." And you're thinking, yeah, but it's not really what I want to do. And then and it was constantly tweaking that. So when other people are sleeping, you're up looking at search rankings, and you're thinking, what can we do differently here? What can we do there? And you're driving to work thinking, what new features could we put in this? How can we do that? How are people finding it? What are the people like who find it? So like I can remember, so I was riding my motorcycle to this, so I was working in Basingstoke, and I was riding my motorcycle to work every morning. Yeah, so I've got this app out there, and I'm kind of, you know, at the time I wasn't sure if it would ever be anything, but I was kind of hopeful, right? You know, I wish I knew that was, because I would have put a lot more effort into it. But so I'm riding to work, and I think, so thinking about who are the people who are downloading this? What would they be like? And I think they would be kind of, like me. They would be kind of irreverent. They wouldn't want to take it too seriously. They wouldn't want to be, you know, they wouldn't want. Yeah, it'd be kind of like they would joke around about it a lot. So we did the splash screen. So the splash screen, and I thought we'll have a little blurb on there. So we have this little blurb on there. It's really corny now because it's been there for years, the same blurbs. But some things like, well, and I just like, there's no crying in app development, which is there's no crying in baseball, or save Ferris from Ferris Bueller, or I just like little things in there. Just I thought would be something kind of cute that they see, and that was just trying to think about who would be using this. And I started to think about this, and who are these people who use it, and this is the kind of stuff that's going through my head, and it's like nobody around me has it. There's nobody you could discuss it with because they just don't get it, right? People will give me advice, say you should make it about cheating boyfriends or cheating girlfriends. I'm like, yeah, but it's not really what I want to go with. I want it to be more of a fun thing, and they said we should make it more colorful. I said, yeah, but it should be kind of dark and creepy, and so we put like we put a little warning on it saying warning eavesdropping can result in hurt feelings. You just started to think about that kind of stuff. And even when I did a video, I was going to do a video like here's how to use EarSpy and everything, and I did one, but I didn't want that to be the main video. I didn't want it to be me. I wanted it to be the spy. So we did. I had this idea for like a promo, and like a spy's running and he's on the phone, and it was just like red and black, which is the colors of the logo and all this stuff. And I didn't really have a way to do it. I didn't really want to hire somebody on Upwork, so I wrote it down in Evernote, thinking maybe one day we'd do it. I have a few like this. We're going to do a promo video here soon, which is based on an idea I had a couple years ago, but never had the means to do it. But so when Sandy started, her first job was to work on this one client project, but then she was done, and we had another designer at the time, so she had nothing to do, and I thought I'd really like to keep her because I like her. And so I said, I have this idea for a video. So she read it, and then she made the first EarSpy promo video, and it was good. It was very short, but then a couple years later, she had another idea for one, and it was all her. So that's the one we have now, and that's very much based on it. It's always thinking about that. How can we tell the story? And a lot of it is it's a mindset, because when you're doing it, you feel like everybody around you, they don't really get what you're doing. You kind of feel like, who am I to be doing this? And you think, oh, it'd be kind of funny to do this. I don't know, whatever. And then eventually you just start to own it. Like at first, even though it's yours, your idea, you started it. For some reason, I didn't completely own the idea. I was always looking to other people to give me advice. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Right? But eventually I started to own it, thinking, no, this is mine. I'm going to, this is my ship. If I steer this thing into the ground, if I crash this thing, if I steer it, whatever, that's on me. But I have to be able to make these decisions on how things go. And that became a lot more fun to play around with that kind of stuff, because at first I felt like, I wasn't sure why it was working. Like we would try something and it was working, and we'd try like 5 things at the same time, and I'm afraid to touch it. And in the end, it was like, if it fails, it fails, right? Any day now they can remove it for whatever reason. They have already once. And, that's something, when you come to that realization, you could think, okay, well, you know what? We'll make whatever change we want. I know I'm rambling on there a little bit, Jesse. I hope that, but yeah, it took a few years. I mean, and that was even then when I decided I was going to stop working, and I gave my notice at the contract I was working at. Actually, what I did was I went from 5 days a week to 3 days a week, which they were not happy about, but they were still like, yeah, we understand. And then I went to no days a week, and then it became much more scary because I was like, I have to make this work. But yeah, it was a lot of that. And I talked about this before, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm still getting up at 4:30 in the morning now, but getting up and just having this double life. I was Bruce Wayne and Batman at the same time. It was like I'm trying to do all this app development in the morning, not doing the development myself, but working with the team in India, or doing all this stuff. So, okay, do this, and they'll come back with a question. And I'm trying to answer all these questions, get everybody working on it, make sure everybody has what they're doing, right? In the morning. But then I also gotta, go downstairs, get dressed. I gotta, get into the shower, get on my bike, ride off to work, get out to work, go run into the office. I'm always late because the morning bit takes a little bit longer than I should have done. I've always waited to the last minute. I run into the office, I sit down at my desk, and then the world slows down because you're working for somebody else, and they're like, hey, Eric, let's have a meeting. And, yeah, okay, let's go have a meeting. And it's just like everything does. But like the time, if you only have like a little window of time to work with, it's like trying to squeeze everything into that, and you're trying to do everything. It's like, and it's still the same now. Like it's always, like today, I was at this business thing all day today, and Marvin, our video editor, is like sending me examples of stuff, and I'm trying to give him feedback, because if I give him feedback now, that means he can work on it today rather than wait till I'm done. But then as I'm trying to like sneak away on my phone and just answer, like watch these little videos and send them messages, people are saying, hey, so you new here, whatever, and they're making small talk, and I'm trying to make small talk, but at the same time sneak away. So I'm actually going into the bathroom and just doing that stuff, because I just want to get this done. And it's like, and I know I should be conversing and being friendly and everything, but I also have this other thing. I got people half a world away that are just they need the feedback, and I'm trying to do that. So let's go off on a tangent there. Let's see. Chris on Tapa said, did you start your career as an app dev? No, I haven't. And why did you decide on to focus on this one? So I started my career started off, well, I've talked about this before. I started off as I was in the Army, and then I went to university, and I was going to be a history teacher, and I got my history degree, my history degree in the state of Missouri, but I came out to England immediately afterwards, and I could not find a job, and I got a job in a factory, and that's what the job I talked about the other day, where I worked in the factory packing yogurt into boxes, and I applied for everything. If Blockbuster Video had hired me, I would probably be, I don't know what I'd be doing today, because they closed. But I nearly got a job as the ticket guy on the trains, and but then one interview I had was at Barclays in London, an investment bank, and it was like I was seriously applying to everything in the paper. I was just doing everything. Gillette salesman for Gillette razors, whatever. I was doing everything, and I had no IT experience. I had no IT experience. WordPerfect was the only thing on my CV, and they actually said, we have this open evening. I went down there. Nobody could figure out why I was there, right? And then they asked all these problem-solving questions, and the people who were interviewing me were not the people that I was working for. They were just like part of another department, and they liked me, and they actually made me an offer, and I could not believe it. My manager could not stand me because I had no IT experience, but it was like this. It was like constantly trying to keep up. It was like all of a sudden you're thrown into the deep end, and I wasn't like going in as a senior developer. I was like a trainee, junior developer, but they said, well, we'll give you a bit of training, and which they didn't, but they have this library where you can go check out books, and I just started reading this, and it's hard to read a computer book if you have no computer experience, right? Because before I got the job, I got a book on Java, thinking I'll just learn how to use this, and it was just Greek to me to begin with, and but then over time it was like it was starting off with VBA and Access, and then it was then I was just devouring these books, and you would think, and I felt like I was catching up for a couple of years, and then you get to this point where you realize that you're reading everything that comes out. You're trying to keep up with all the latest technology. You're sitting there in the middle of the night trying to play with this code to see why this thing's not working, why that's not working. And you assume that everybody else is doing the same. You assume that's what they were doing in university, but then you find out at some point they're not. They're just they haven't picked up a book in years, and you're like, and they're coming to you for advice, and that was really eye-opening. And then so after that, it was this is why I think, I'm not that concerned like if we hire somebody if they have a degree, because I think if they're willing to learn, if they're willing to put in the hours and do what they have to do, and you give them the opportunity, like I was given this opportunity, and I'm still to this day, I think it was a mistake that they hired me. I think I don't know why they did. I'm thinking maybe they got my name switched with somebody else's, but I thought that I wasn't gonna let that, so I sunk my teeth into it. I mean, I went to this interview. That interview, I didn't even have a suit to wear, so I went to a charity shop and I got something for £8 in a charity shop, and I was wearing my army shoes, this suit that didn't fit me, and I went down there to Canary Wharf I took the night off from the factory where I was packing yogurt, and I went down to Canary Wharf on a train ticket I could not afford. And and then they made me an offer, and it was not it was a lot. I thought it was a lot, but it wasn't a lot. I wouldn't say that now. And and then that's where everything started. And then it became, if I could do that, what could I do other things? And it just became a there's so much opportunity out there. And everybody says this is first you need to go here, then you do here, then you do there, then you do there. But if you're always watching, you think, maybe I could just jump from here to there. Maybe I could do this to there. And that's like starting your own business is a good example. So that's some people will say, no, you need to rise up the ranks, and then you get promoted here. And then you think, well, what if I started my own thing, and then you're in over your head. You just jump into the deep end. You think, how can I fit in there? And that's the way you really grow. You grow from being in those kind of situations, right? And it's let's see. So I mean, that's sorry to keep going on about that. I know I've told that story before. So, let's see. No Name Lad says, one thing I've noticed is that the #1 thing for getting a good ranking in the app is don't quit. Don't quit. I mean, there's certain things. One of the things people have asked me, is it better to do one app or do many? And I've done many, thinking my odds of success are better if I have many on the App Store. But the downside is that I've got too many to keep an eye on. So like keyword research, for example, is something where I've got like all these language learning games, so I'm always looking, and I'm thinking, do I really want to sit there and do all of them individually? So sometimes I just do them as a bulk and everything like that. And if I just had 2 or 3, I would probably be a lot more efficient on those few. But then I like the idea. I like creating new things. I like putting new things out there. So, it's so this is one of those things where I can't say. When I say that I'm not an expert on anything, this is exactly what I mean. I'm just going to tell you guys what I do, what works and what doesn't, but you do your own thing. Some of the things that I regret at having too many apps is, first of all, 4.3 and the repetitive content thing. So far, repetitive content thing on Google Play has not been an issue, but 4.3 definitely has, where Apple starts rejecting things, and your apps, you have too many apps, you need to combine them or whatever. Had I known that in the beginning, I wouldn't have bothered with all that stuff. But I'm thinking we could serve more people, more audiences by doing this kind of stuff. And it wasn't necessarily like a reskin like so many people out there were doing. It was taking something like a framework and applying it to different areas. But yeah, Apple's being Apple about that. So if you could do fewer apps, then I think that would be better. And yeah, definitely don't quit, because and I did a video about this a couple years ago. It seems like I've done a video on everything, and I'm sorry if I ever repeat myself. Somebody a few weeks ago said, you've talked about this content already. Why are you repeating content? I thought, I forgot I had talked about it before. But I did one where I said that your app idea is just as good as when you first thought about it. And you've gotten used to it because you've played through it so many times. But the people who have not found your app yet, they're going to have that first experience that you had when you first thought of it. And the fact that nobody's found your app the fact that nobody's downloading your app does not mean your app is no good. It just means that you have a marketing issue. Right? It's still the same idea, good idea it was to you. You just need to convince the people out there that it exists, and then they need to find it. Let's see. The Play Store disapproves of Fields of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. It sure isn't that easy. No, I think it's just because it's so crowded. I think it's just so crowded, and like if you read a book, one of the books I read initially was called App Empire by Chad Moretta, and he talked about how all you have to do is do this app and this passive revenue, all this kind of stuff, and he made it sound so easy. You just do this fake fingerprint scanning app, fool your friends, all that kind of stuff. Something where I thought, I can't see why anybody would download that now, and it's gotten a lot more sophisticated, but you've got a lot more of the big companies coming in, and it's getting it's just very, very competitive. So but it can work. I mean, we can make it work, but just gotta work on it. Are you bullish on virtual reality, augmented reality? Jesse asked if I'm bullish on virtual reality. I'm not. I mean, I think it's just because I think I would love to do a virtual reality game, but it's like so far outside my area of experience that I think, when I think about it, I mean, especially augmented reality, I haven't seen anything that really impressed me with that. I've had a lot of people say, why don't you just have an app where you have augmented reality? I point it at the phone and it will tell me that this is a phone and tell me all the phone numbers in my contacts and stuff like that. And I think, I don't know how that would work. Like all the different parts of it, I'm just not familiar with that in order to make it work. And where it sounds easy to explain it to somebody like as an idea, I've got this fantastic idea, but when I think about the practicalness of it, I don't know how it works. And that might be very easy, especially with TensorFlow and machine learning and everything, because I know they have object recognition now. But I would think all the different things you could point, like it's outside my right now is outside my area of comfort. So. Let's see. Josh Klomp says, I am following an Udemy Java course and I'm planning to follow an Android course after it. But is it a good way to start programming Android apps? I think, if you can do Java, I think that would be good to do Android apps. So, I mean, one of the things that I like, about the hybrids and Flutter and React Native and all those, whatever, is that you can do both platforms at the same time. If you do Android and Java, you're pretty much stuck to that. But however, was I reading about this week? This week I was reading about Kotlin/native, which is something apparently could go into iOS also, but I've like never heard of it before. I was reading an article about it. I was going to do some research on it. So, Chris, your story is very inspiring. Thanks, Mark Fowler. Screw Apple and Microsoft. My exam page says, hey, my app's match rate is going down. It was starting at 95, but now it's only 50%. Oh, wow. Please tell me why. I don't know. Are you talking about the AdMob rate? This is the longest live stream we've ever done. My voice is gone. My kids are starving. I got to start. I got to get going here because it's takeaway night, and I think tonight's gonna be Indian food for those of you guys keeping score, and so I need to go home and do that. Otherwise, they're gonna actually start phoning me and say, "Dad, where's dinner?" So. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up this week. I hope it's been good. I really appreciate everybody following the channel, and hopefully this is useful. Like I said, there's a lot of things I don't know, but I think there's nothing better than being an app developer is really I love doing it just because we're creating something from nothing. We've got this big platform. We've got all these opportunities and all these things that we can explore. A lot of times we think that it's too crowded and the time is gone, but I don't think that's the case. I think it was just would be the next greatest app hasn't come out yet, and hopefully one of us. Hopefully one of us will find out what it is and we'll do it. So, but I think that'd be great. So thank you, everyone. Eric, is the day you invite us over? Yeah, I would invite you guys over to my house to have the Indian food, but it would be an awkward conversation with the family. So anyway, everybody, thank you very much. Indian food. Oh, now I'm starving. Why did I say that? Everyone, thank you very much. I'll have a fantastic week. I'll see you next week on the live stream and tomorrow on the daily video. Have a great weekend.
Taking this blindfold off to see what this life's all about.